Hey there, and welcome to Story Time with Ellie podcast, and I am your host, Ellie. Today we have a remarkable guest joining us. His name is Jeffrey Eisen. He's a visionary from Toronto. At the age of 50, Jeffrey made a transformative leap from being the CEO of a multi-million dollar steel company to becoming a spiritual life coach. He now channels Sheltazar energy and serves as an intuitive author and a master teacher. Jeffrey is passionate about elevating global consciousness and helping individuals uncover their true selves. He co authored a book, Empowered Youth: A Father and Son's Journey to Conscious Living, showcases his commitment to awakening the empowering others. Please join us in welcoming Jeffrey Eisen. Hey,
Thank you.
Jeffrey. Hey, Jeffrey. How are you?
Good, Ellie, and how are you?
I am good. That Sheltazar.
Yeah, tricky, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to tell us what that means, right?
Yes,
Soon as we
yes.
start what the old startup, right? What inspired you to transform from a successful CEO to a spiritual life coach?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it was a switch, but it wasn't. It was a journey. Um, I had gone into the business. I was born and raised in a small town. I didn't realize at the time that what I really wanted was my father's love, recognition, appreciation, and he seemed to be only interested in the family business. So
Hmm.
unconsciously, from a young age, showed an interest in the business. And when his partner, my uncle, his brother, passed away at a young age, I just felt a sense of responsibility to get in there and help. So I would go in after school and help out. And then I went to university, realized that I was wasting my time, dropped out after second year, and entered the business at 21, worked for 30 years, uh, built it up, accomplished a lot financially, got married, had kids. And I guess my midlife crisis, as opposed to shaving my head or getting a Ferrari, was just questioning that there had to be more to life.
Yeah.
And I had accomplished so much. I was so driven. And I had some health issues at the time. I had Crohn's disease, and that was around the time I had my first gastrointestinal surgery. And our middle child, our son, had ulcerative colitis, and he had his colon taken out. So there was a little bit of nudging and discomfort, but it was really this yearning inside me that there had to be more to life. And we had hired a human resources consultant because the company had grew quite large and we needed to work on culture and training. And he gave me a couple. I was reading leadership books. I was very interested in that. I was always self-taught. I never worked for anyone in my life except my father, and he was kind of a tough boss.
Mm.
Um, and so I would start to read leadership books and try to get better at what I was doing. And our human resources consultant gave me a personal development book, and it was like, wow, that's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
It was actually Robin Sharma's The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And it was like, whoa, this is really interesting. And went out, bought a few more books of his, signed up for a workshop he was doing, and was determined that he would be my first coach, and he was. And that began my do-over. That made me realize that there was so much more. It opened doors. It opened my eyes to realize that there was more to life than that grind of being in business and making money and all of those things. And somewhere along the line, my journey took a little bit of a side road into spirituality, and that just felt like coming home. That felt like coming home to me. And so the last 20 some years, I'm 72 now, I have dedicated my life to my purpose, which is awakening, empowering, and inspiring others by sharing my love and wisdom.
Great story. Great story. And you're not alone with that story either. I it's common, but
Yes.
it's I don't mean that you're common. I'm just mean that because I have a similar story on my own, but we're not going to talk about me. but many of us do, and it's nice that you take the path of spirituality and to help others. Where and you didn't take that other path to say, oh, let me just go through, shake your head and do the other fun stuff. So you definitely, I feel, not that I'm the judge, but you were definitely on the right path. I think you're doing a great job. But I'd like to
Mhm.
know a lot more about, obviously what you're doing as far as how you are getting your story out to people or how you teach people. Your program, you have it's called Sheltazar. Is that something you teach?
Right.
What
Yeah.
is
Okay. So
okay.
let's go back to that time where I began my journey,
Yep. Hmm.
and was interested in spirituality because at that point, I was just soaking all of this in. I was reading 50, 60 books a year. I was going to workshops.
Yeah, looking for your answers.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
seeking the
yeah.
knowledge, checking
Hmm.
alternative heat modalities, like in that exploration mode. Um, One of the practices that my first coach taught me was early awakening. He insisted I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, read those books, meditate, and journal. And it was the journaling practice that
Hmm.
really was an eye opener for
Yep.
me.
That's my
In the
middle name.
beginning, is it?
I'm just joking because if you
No,
listen to my
no.
podcast, I'm always telling people journal, journal, and I do coaching,
Yes,
journal, everything, journal, just journal.
excellent. Right, right.
It's
And
amazing.
well,
Yeah.
hopefully this will confirm to your listeners how powerful this
Yes.
process is because
Love it.
the journaling, for whatever reason, literature, English writing was never my strong suit. I was more in maths and sciences. I was really a good student because I really believed that the smarter you were and the more driven you were, the more you would succeed.
Hmm.
The interesting part of my do-over is uh, pretty well most of my beliefs have changed 180 degrees. Everything that I was taught growing up, I do not believe now one iota. So I began this early morning journaling, and it was kind of interesting because, as I said, writing wasn't my skill. So I would just sit down in the dark room and listen to music, and start writing and writing. And so it was more of an automatic writing, kind of free flow journaling process. And what came out was all of these unexpressed emotions. I remember one of my early alternative healing modalities was a shaman, and she scanned my body and she said that my lower chakras, my gastrointestinal area, was like a tar field of unexpressed emotions.
Mm.
Now, here's a 50-year-old guy that is like, yeah, we're not supposed to feel, right? We're
Yeah, yeah.
supposed to be tough. When my
Hmm.
uncle passed away, I was 16 years old. They would tell me, be tough, be strong.
Oh, yeah. We
Uh,
weren't allowed to show. You're not allowed to show emotion, especially men.
right. Now I'm the poster guy for emotions because
Mm.
Sheltazar has taught me that feelings are truth.
Okay.
So I begin this journaling process of trying to dump out the feelings. When I was on the shaman's table, I remember she was doing a healing and I was coughing and crying and in the fetal position. And it was like, oh, this is great. Now I've released them all, right? How naive of me. No way, right? Here I am 20 some years later, still releasing layers of that emotional trauma that all of us go through. And so I would write and write and empty onto the page how I hated this and hated that, and let go of these emotions. And I really enjoyed the process of journaling. So I kept it up long after I was finished with my coach. And and then I found that after the phrase I use is after I drained the swamp, so to speak, and got rid of most of the unexpressed emotions, I started asking questions about life. And in the beginning, I thought I was talking to God. It was sort of like a Neil Donald Walsh conversations with God. And I believed that God was answering me, and we would have this back and forth, and I'd be given this guidance. And then there was a period of time, I guess, where I connected to a different energy. It just felt different.
Mm.
Rereading my journal, it just didn't feel as conversational. And at first, I thought I was connecting to an energy. Of course, by this time, my my spiritual journey had continued to evolve, and I knew more and I had read more. And I was listening to other channelers and other people that had connected to the unseen world. And at first, what I thought I was connecting to, I guess we always like to sort of give it a name. It's more familiar that way, was calcitron. But I've come to realize that calcitron is a place, not sure what or where. Then what I heard was Gavish Baninu. And as I questioned what that was, I was led to believe that Gavish is the giver or teacher Baninu of all that is good or divine wisdom. Then I heard the term Sheltazar, and I knew right away that is what I would know them by.
Mm.
And then I heard energy of 33, and it was like, whoa, 33. And I was into numerology a bit, and I looked it up, and 33 is the master teacher. And
Mm.
that was very consistent with what seemed to be coming through, because it seemed to be master teachings. And in the beginning, it was just me journaling. I would sometimes reread the journal entries to my wife, and she would say, "Where did that come from? That's not you."
Isn't that
And
something else?
yeah,
Wow.
and it was like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't sound like me. And in the beginning, I thought that guidance was just for me. It was just like my personal uh, um, uh, coach guide, helping me on this spiritual journey. And I would read it and reread it and try to apply the wisdom that was coming through. And then it got to that point where I realized this is just it's not just for me. I must share it. So I connected to someone who I had a recording studio in their basement. I recorded the messages. I combed through my journal, found 16 messages that I thought were very, very profound. We recorded them, put background music, created a 2-disc CD, and that was the beginning. I continued to channel the messages of Sheltazar. I tried videos. I'm still channeling. There are over 130 messages of Sheltazar out there now that I try to share and help people embody that wisdom. And a few years ago, my graphic designer, my web designer, suggested I do an oracle card deck, because I used to love oracle cards. And last year we published the Wisdom of Sheltazar oracle card deck. So, but although the wisdom that has come through has been extremely mystical, I really believe that I am here to bring forth practical spirituality. That what I'm here to do is take the esoteric mystical wisdom that comes through me and help people apply it to their everyday life.
Interesting. Okay. Um, so how do you get your teachings out? When you have this program, you're developing your program, how do people say reach you? Where do you go to talk about what you do?
I follow my intuition. Over
Mm-hmm.
the years, I've done live channelings. I did find a platform a few years ago. It is a meditation app called Insight Timer,
Okay.
and it's a fabulous platform. There's millions of people that have signed up for it. They now have, I believe, 10 or 12,000 teachers. So all the Sheltazar content is there. I do weekly live streaming events, teaching people how to connect to the unseen world. I have a website, I have social media. For me, it's a very unique situation. Being in business 30 years, doing what I do now, can't feel like the old energy of business. So when we talk about how you get out there or how you market, it needs for me to be much more intuitive. I love experimenting with things. My birth number is a 32.5, and we are explorers. And so I had a podcast, and I had all kinds of things that I love playing around with. And whatever fits, I keep doing, and whatever doesn't, I move on. It's not about doing this from a place of ego or success. It's about sharing. If you notice in my purpose, it's sharing my love
Correct.
and wisdom. So how am I getting out there? I'm on your podcast. I'm telling your story. I'm telling my story. I'm
Yes, yes,
meeting people like
yes.
you,
That
right?
that I understood, but I wasn't sure if you were doing like coaching,
Oh, yes,
teachings.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of
Oh,
what I meant. But
yes.
that's okay.
Oh,
I let you
sorry.
talk.
Yes.
It's good. I love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do individual
Okay.
coaching. I created a community. I'm in the process of launching some courses. Yeah,
That's what I
all
mean.
kinds of
Perfect.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got a
Absolutely.
lot of knowledge.
Yeah,
Got a lot
thank you. As a matter of
love it.
fact, one of the things I decided to do as a way of giving back, these are the wisdom of Sheltazar Oracle cards. I've started offering 30-minute free card readings just to sort of get people familiar with them. I've done over 50 of them. I've met the most amazing people all over the world.
You
A
do meet
lot
a
of
lot of
them,
nice people with what you're doing, what I'm doing. You meet a lot of
isn't
great
it
people.
amazing? Yeah.
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
But the cards, can you hold that up again? Where can they get those? And what do they
They,
do? You might have explained a little bit, but you did explain, but can you
yeah,
explain?
well, okay. So you can get them on my Etsy store. If anyone wants to go to my website, jeffreyeisen.com,
Okay.
it's really easy. Right up at the top, it says the Wisdom of Sheltazar Oracle cards. Click on it, and it will take you to the website, and you can buy it on Etsy. We did something really amazing. We got someone to do a voiceover, so you could actually read the message in this booklet,
Mm.
or you could listen to the voiceover. And one of my favorite decks when I was into Oracle card decks was the Osho Zen Tarot deck. And it was kind of neat because Osho would do an esoteric mystical message, and then someone else would do a commentary. And so the universe connected me with this amazing writer. His name is Mark Lane out of Chicago. And I said, Mark, would you like to do the commentaries? And it's really kind of
I want
neat
to see how
because,
those cards work, Jeffrey. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
okay. All right. So are you ready? Are you ready? All
Yeah, I want to
right.
look at the pictures. I want to see what we got
All
going.
right. So this is the outside of the deck.
Nice. And you
This
developed
is
it. You made this deck, right?
55 messages because five is a very important change number.
Mm.
55 is double that. It was my web designer, the person who actually designed these amazing,
Yeah, I want to see the
uh,
pictures.
yeah,
Yes.
they're really great. She designed that and it was her idea. She said, Jeffrey, why don't you create an Oracle card deck? And it's like, nah, I don't think so. Because I was used to channeling longer messages from
Hmm.
Sheltazar. But then I meditated on it, checked in with Sheltazar, and they said, yep, you got to do it. Because what it does is it forces you to bring the wisdom into more of a bite size fashion. They're like 250, 300 words each.
Mm.
And each one has got a very important lesson. So um, you would simply take the card deck. I
Hmm.
would ask a few questions. We would pull the message. And today's message is embrace the adventure.
Mm. Okay. So what if I did that with you? What if I thought of something or asked a question and then you pull a card?
Usually, what I've been doing in these 30-minute Oracle card readings is I get a sense of who you are. Then I would ask you to set an intention for what it
Okay.
is you're looking for. Then I'd pull a card. Then I would read you the message, and then I would help you integrate the wisdom.
Gotcha. Great. Great.
Right.
Very nice. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, does anyone ever on your website, you have a website. So can anyone book a reading with you with those cards or you just sell them?
Yeah, no, they can. Right now, I actually offer complimentary discovery calls, but we will be putting a place where you can book the
Yeah,
reading.
good idea.
It's
That's what.
been, yeah, it's
Mhm.
been fascinating.
Yeah.
It's been really, it took off far more than I would have thought. Yesterday, I spoke to a lovely lady from New Zealand. This morning from Scotland. A few days ago, Ireland. All
Hmm.
over the States. It's really amazing, and the card readings are very empowering. They really help people with the issues that they're going through. And I would love for you to have your own personalized reading. I can send you a link.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Great idea. Wow. And so let's see. And you co-authored a book. Now, that was with your son?
Yes, that was with our
Did
youngest son.
your youngest, did you
Uh,
want to talk about that a little bit too? Like wrap around that
yeah, that
book
was at the
and
beginning of the journey, and it was kind
okay,
of
cool.
interesting. He really wanted to write the book, and he connected with Hay House, one of the largest personal development publishing companies probably in the world, and personally befriended Louise Hay and really wanted to write a book, but he was in his 30s, and I guess when he pitched the book, they didn't really think that there was a story there. But then he talked about me and my transformational journey and how I was coaching him and helping him. And they
Hmm.
liked that idea. So they said, okay, well, why don't you do a father and son book?
Yeah,
So
Empowered Youth is the name of the book.
yeah, right. And it was around, but it was early in my journey, and it was all part of it. I continue to evolve. I'm The experience of writing a book was interesting, but
Mm.
I don't believe that I would like to get my wisdom out in a book anymore. Not trying, I'm working on figuring out the best way. Sheltazar has taught me that there are layers of learning.
Hmm.
And, as I mentioned earlier, early in my journey, I was just soaking up books and reading them and reading them. And Sheltazar has led me to believe that that learning, has layers, and the lower layer of learning is knowledge, and you get that from books. And the highest level of learning is experiential. And so, my what I say now is that life is my teacher, and as Gandhi says, my life is my teachings. And I have not read a book after reading 50, 60 books a year for a few years. I haven't read a book in 16 years
Wow. Okay.
because you are my teacher. Everybody I talk to is
Right.
my teacher.
We are.
Sheltazar is my teacher.
Interesting. Yeah, we grow with one another, or not with, or from one another. We do.
Right.
And we learn. I've been
Which
learning
is
so much,
why,
especially with the podcast and my
well, I was
guest.
going to say,
Oh
which
my
is
goodness.
fantastic, that story time, because it is those stories. I mean,
Yeah.
the ancients, they did not have the books. They learned from the stories. So you're,
Verbiage.
yeah,
Talk.
yeah, you are serving a
Yeah.
phenomenal purpose by creating a platform for
Narrative
people to,
therapy, we call it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Interesting.
makes
Yeah.
total sense. Yeah.
Um, so let me just go back it up a little, because I'm always interested and curious on this part. The pivoting point from the time, like you did say you were tired of the work. You were tired and you said you're going to do this. Did you just walk away from your business? Did you sell your business? Did you?
Yeah, great question. No, because I was afraid that if I walked away, that I would have to rely on this new venture, being a coach, to make a
Mm-hmm.
living, and I didn't want that pressure. So I, foolishly held on to the business, got someone else to run it. Didn't do too well. Eventually sold it, but it
Okay.
was that fear and trying to sort of have the best of both worlds, thinking that, okay, it's my pension plan. But of course, if I'm not putting the energy into it, it's not what it used to be. So eventually we sold it and I got out. But that that was not a process where I had the courage that maybe I would have liked to. And that's because I didn't want to put the pressure on myself to perform. And
Hmm.
that has worked out very well for me because of the although it was challenging, those 30 years of business, it gave me the financial cushion to do what I do,
Exactly.
to
I
do
totally relate.
oracle card readings for free. It takes the pressure off of performing, and that makes what I do much, much easier.
Exactly. It's like you're doing the financial side, right? We build up the financial side because now that we can go to now we're doing the things that we love to do or that we want to do. And it gave us the money, it gave us what we needed financially to do these other things. And it's almost like it was like a setup from the universe, right?
100%.
Yeah. It's like, okay,
100%.
let's get them here. So
Yeah.
now they can go off the other side, off the other, and grow in that direction as well. Yeah,
Right.
totally. I can totally relate
Yeah.
to
So
what you're
people would
saying.
ask me, so you retired? And I would say, no, I got refired. And
Yeah.
that's really what happened.
Yeah.
I found my passion,
I don't think I'll
and
ever
I had,
retire.
yeah, no, no. And I had the financial foundation that I could play with it. I could have fun with it. And so when you say, how can I be found? People that want to find me, they'll find me, but I don't have to worry about marketing, and I don't have to worry about finding them because the universe is always leading me to where I need to be.
Yeah, look at you on my podcast.
I was about to say that. You're getting very psychic. Good for you. You got that one. That was the next words out of my mouth. You're
Yeah,
right.
see, I read you.
Good.
See, I'm around
Good.
all these psychics in the last, like, this is like our season. No, so it's like we
Yes.
start really getting intuitive with one another. But anyway, yeah, so this is really cool
It does.
stuff.
It certainly helps life when you tap in to that unseen world, that intuition. And um, unfortunately, the logical, intellectual world really makes fun of it. But I know it works, and
I,
I teach it to people, and miracles come your way. And you have to understand, for 50 years, if you would have asked the 30 or 40-year-old version of me about the things that I am now spewing forth, I would have said that's a bunch of bunk.
hmm
Right?
But you
But
found
now,
we find our way. We do find our
we do.
way. Now,
Mhm.
there was a question I was going to jump in before, but I didn't want to cut you off. But hold on, here we go. Um, how how would you explain or to people about this journey, this intuition on if someone came to you and said, "How did you practice or how did you learn yours or how can I learn mine?" Does that make sense? I'm
Yes,
kind of
I
twisting
would
that around that
suggest.
question, but
Yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Because you ask it in a way that makes it easier to answer. A lot of people that ask that question ask it in a very left brain intellectual way, like, can you give me the 10 steps so
oh
I can
yeah,
do what you can do? And the answer, of course, is no.
right. I don't
And
do that.
so um, one of the big shifts is to get out of your head, because I
Mm.
believe that our communication with the unseen world is sensory. It has to be felt. And, we talked about that earlier when I was on the shaman's table. Um, we need to connect. I mean, often it's called the gut feeling. We need to connect with our feeling consciousness. And for so many people, that's been shut off. And so, in a lot of cases, when I teach it to people, I have to start by, as Sheltazar would say, quiet your mind and open your heart. In other words, quiet the noise in your mind that is saying, how do I do this? Is this the right message? Am I getting it correctly? As a matter of fact, I'm in the process of creating my first course on connecting to the unseen world. I've been a bit reluctant doing that because I want the course to be experiential, and I haven't quite figured out the best way to do that for people, because I love teaching it one-on-one, but I can only teach so many people one-on-one.
Yeah, you
So
make a course create a course, and then they can,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah, right. So the first step is really to get people to shift their perspective to more a sensory feeling perspective than a thinking perspective. And
So you
when you
just more
do that,
quiet time. I don't want to be cutting in.
meditation, quiet
Meditation,
time,
quiet,
yeah,
open your mind. So this
right,
that's the hardest part is teaching them that
you
uh,
got it.
to silence your mind.
Right, because our world is all about this busyness. And
Hmm
of course, technology is wonderful, but it's quite addictive, and it does keep you very engaged in your mind, right? As you're
hmm
scrolling through and reading this and reading that. So, in a lot of cases, I just have to quiet people down. And if you get them in a meditative state, and then it's helping them understand that communication with the unseen world is far more subtle than you and I talking. When you and I are talking, you are listening with your mind. I'm listening with my mind. But when I coach people, when I work with people, I let go of that, and I'm very much present moment focused, and I feel their energy. That's one of the things that I have, that I have been working on, or the universe has been tutoring me on, is getting a sense of people's energy. And it's important to let go of that thinking mind. Sheltazar would say, think less, feel more. And if you think about it, everything, if you reflect on it, everything we want in life is a feeling. We think it's the big car. It's not the case. You think it's the job. You think it's marriage. You think it's money in the bank. It's what those things will allow you to feel is what is really at the core. So in a lot of cases, I have to kind of uh, mm, uh, get through the forest and make people realize or help people realize that what they want is a feeling. And then they're a little bit more open to feelings. People often ask me the question, how do I feel? And I say, well, you're always feeling. We have just learned to disconnect from our feelings.
Mhm.
So I try to help them get out of their mind, connect to that feeling consciousness. And when you're in that feeling consciousness, then you will be more receptive to getting messages from the unseen world, because the unseen world does not speak a language, they speak in a sensory way. I don't know if you've ever heard, that a lot of people talk about the four major pathways of connecting to the unseen world, the clairvoyant, the clairaudient, the clairsentient, and the claircognizant. But those are only four of the sensory ways that we connect to the unseen world. So if anyone listens to the messages of Sheltazar, they would say, "Oh, are those the words that Sheltazar told you?" And the answer is no. That's my translation of what I believe they are telling me, if that makes sense.
So it's almost like you have an inner antenna.
Yes. Not almost, it is.
It is.
Now,
I,
yes,
I
yes,
don't want to
yes,
scare
yes,
us, but yeah, it's like you have this sensory in you that picks
yes.
up these little. How does one know that it's the right
Beautiful
feeling?
question. Right. Before I
Right?
answer that, you're absolutely right. We all have that inner antenna, and
Mm,
my job is to dust it off. My job is to pull
gotcha.
it out of the closet. My job is to let you know you have it and then help you use it.
Hmm.
Um, and that's the beautiful part. How do you know? Many people say to you, how do you know it's your
Yeah. I
intuition?
mean, how do you know?
It's your feeling. And the more you practice it, it's like if you go to the gym, you don't pick up the heaviest weight the first time you go to the gym. You exercise and you exercise, and eventually you can pick up a heavier weight.
Mm,
And that's the same as your intuition. So I would work with people, and that's where it becomes a little difficult, because if you're coming from your left brain, you're in a hurry, you're impatient, you want to know the answer right away, and that's the wrong energy. So I have to really get them into more of a relaxed state and realize the subtlety of it. So if you got something that you felt was intuitive, I would help you understand, what does that feel? Does it feel right to you? Where are you feeling it? Uh, is it definitive, right? So if someone said to me, uh, they told me I have to do this, right? And it's like, okay, how's that feeling? Well, it's feeling like my parent is telling me I have to do it. I'd say, well, that's probably coming from your left brain. That doesn't seem to be the energy of the universe. So you have to
in other words,
learn. Go
got you.
ahead.
So do you think that I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Now, do you think that like when they're if somebody say asks me a question and I have to think about it for a second, and sometimes it could be a loaded question, whatever. I'm not sure what question, but they say the answer a lot of times comes from your gut, not your head. So is that what you're saying about the left side of your
Yes,
brain?
yes, 100%.
Yeah. So
That's
I never heard it
exactly what
said
it is.
it's left, but I've heard people say it comes from, in your stomach area in here, not your head.
Right. Some
And
people will
that's your
say the head and the
intuition.
heart. Right. Yes.
Yeah. It says
It
when it comes from a
feels
different area of your
differently.
body and you're trying to think about that, like, okay, but they say it's not at your head. It's not the thoughts that come in the head.
Right. And some people, if they've never been exposed to what that feels like, that's where I say I have to help them dust off the antenna,
Got
because
you.
they are
Yes,
so
totally.
used to it's like, what do you mean not from your head? Where else would it come from? Right.
Yeah, but it's in here. You get like I don't want to say a tingle. I've had that. I kind of look at the stuff myself. But yeah,
Excellent.
it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing this with my hands because I've become very, very sensitive with energy. I'm a Reiki master as well, and so
Mhm.
and I'm into crystals. If you look at my background, you can see that there's crystals, and so I'm into sound healing. There are ways to nurture and cultivate that sensory part of ourselves, that antenna that you talked about. Um, but it does take practice, and I will say over the 17, 18 years that I have been connected to Sheltazar, my intuition, my communication, my connection continues to evolve. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it just, sometimes, like when I've been lately, which is why I think I've been nudged to do these oracle card readings. Sometimes it just blows me away. It's like, where it was like that original journal entry. It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So I am learning to get out of the way and let that intuition come through me.
Interesting. Love
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
It is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I
Mhm.
love to see it at work. You're like, wow.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know
No,
if we
no.
can. I don't know if we can do it here. Maybe depends, but I would love to chat with you and show you how to do it because I sense your interest, your
Very much.
inquisitiveness about. Yeah, I would. I love it. It is my greatest desire to teach more people. Sheltazar has said. Now, there used to be over time there were the masters, and there seemed to be sort of an elite few that had access
Mhm.
to that unseen world, the invisible world, higher dimensions, whatever you wish to call it. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what you call it. And Sheltazar has led me to believe that there has never been a time in human history where it is easier and more accessible to connect to that intuition, that invisible world. That it's sort of been open to everyone now, and it's no coincidence you said that lately you've been interviewing a lot of psychics, and that's because there's more and more of us
Well, I put
100
it out
years
there
ago,
too. Yeah.
200 years ago. Yeah, well, right,
But I
right.
want that. I want people to know more about that. I want people to learn about their own intuition. I think it
100%.
helps anything I've done in my life. I'm going to say that I don't want to say everything, but most of it is intuition. I'm going to say 90% was intuition.
Excellent. Yeah.
It's starting
Yes.
businesses where people said, don't do it. I'm like, no, got to do it. Everything was against it. I said, no, got to do it. Did it. And it was the best thing I ever could have done. So I always did use my intuition. It did come from Northern Stomach area. I
Yeah.
felt more in here, more than here. But
Right.
there's times that brain is in the way. Yeah, totally.
Always, and that's why this it's a process.
Yeah.
What I say to people is, right now we seem to be very excited and engaging artificial intelligence, and that's really wonderful because it's got some very
Mm-hmm.
productive uses.
Yes.
But what I would say is, why would you want to rely on artificial intelligence, which is the limited intelligence of the human world, when you could tap into universal intelligence that that consists of everything that ever was,
Mm-hmm.
everything that is, and everything that will be? Because in the higher realms, there is no time, there is no space. So if I'm excited about tapping into artificial intelligence, I'm even more excited about tapping into the energy of the higher realms because it doesn't have the limitations that we have here on planet Earth.
Got you. Um, this might be totally off this topic, but do you believe or do you have guides, spiritual guides that you connect with?
I believe those spiritual guides for me are Sheltazar, and Sheltazar is a collective. They have never incarnated in human form, and they have come to the planet many times before. I
Mm.
believe we all have guides,
Aren't they called them ascendant or something?
ascended masters.
Yes. Is it the
Yeah,
same thing?
it's all names, and that's when you ask me if
Mm.
I have a spirit guide. One of the things that kind of makes it difficult for people is we try to think of that invisible world in the same context we feel that we look at our life, right? So it needs to have a name. It needs, is
Yeah.
it an angel? Is it a spirit guide?
What's it
And
look
so
like? What's it wearing?
exactly, right, right. So we do the angels, we put wings on them, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes more identifiable.
It's like
And
I didn't
so
see the
when I
angels.
talk, when I talk about the higher realms, when I talk about the ultimate great creator, I always use source, God, Yahweh, the great creator, the universe. I try to use a variety of words and not be married to the one word that we identify with it because that kind of limits us. So it
Gotcha.
doesn't matter. And that's why you've heard me many times refer to it as the invisible world or the unseen world, because that's a lot easier than calling it my guide, my guardian angel,
Mm.
whatever. They're all of those. Use the terminology that helps you feel comfortable with that energy, but try to realize that it's beyond the limitations of the human mind. There's an ancient text called the Kabbalion that says the all, and they refer to the all as God or source or the great creator. The
Mhm.
all is unknowable and unthinkable. And I remember once a young man was talking to me, and he said, "I'm really amazed that you are so passionate about trying to find out things that you know you will never fully understand." And it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. And so
Yeah. Well, when you look at it that way.
yeah, I love the playfulness of trying to learn more, knowing I'll never have it figured out until I leave this physical plane.
Well, it keeps your brain healthy on another note. And
Not
that's not
bad
even
for
a joke. And that's the
72, eh?
truth to that. Huh?
Right. Yeah, not bad for 72. It's a
Yeah, well,
great way
72
to.
is young today, but I mean, we're saying they say, I want to make a twist into that, but they say if you keep your mind busy, you have a lesser chance of, some of these brain diseases that are out there. I won't get into that,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
they
and
say a
that's
lot of it's
true.
keeping your,
But the
yeah.
key, as we
Mm-hmm.
talked about before, the key is to have that balance between the head and the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just keep feeding the mind, then you could easily be creating stress and do I know enough? And I will tell you, although 72 is relatively young, I'm watching the aging process. And the odd time I forget a name, I forget a place.
I was
And it can
born
be
that
very
way.
disturbing.
I
It can
was
be
never
very
good with
disturbing.
names.
Yeah, right. So it is, you want to keep the mind sharp in an inquisitive sense, but not in an overpowering sense. So to me, it's always the balance between connecting to my feelings and allowing, what I like to say is, let spirit lead the way and let my mind interpret the messages.
Well said. Well said. Uh, Jeffrey, I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast. And if there's anything you want to leave with our listeners, anything you want to, any kind of note, would you like to?
Yes, I guess what I would like to say is that Sheltazar has led me to believe that we are in the energy of the great potential for change, where no change is not an option. If anyone is looked around the world, we are having challenges, political, financial, environmental, personal, you
Mm-hmm.
name it. It is the opportunity to start to make changes in your life. And when you change yourself, the world will change. There's an opportunity for all of us to create a kinder, gentler, more caring humanity. And I would encourage each of you to go on that journey that I went on, that journey of self-discovery, find a different way of doing things, and let's help make the world a better place.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I appreciate that. And thank you for coming on to the Storytime with Ellie podcast, where our motto is everybody has a story. What's yours? Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
This is how legends are made.